Hello crocheters, welcome back to Crazy Cool Crochet. And in today's project we are working on this crazy cool crochet cape. And the silhouette is the star of the show. The shape, the color, that's what really makes this so special. Now this particular yarn is Yarn Bee Soft Secret from Hobby Lobby in Hot Grape. It's a number 4. Now I very deliberately choose my yarns, especially for certain patterns and projects like this one. So the yarn is soft, as the name says, definitely, but it also drapes beautifully, and it's got the tiniest little sheen to it, which adds that much more dimension and interest. Now we want the shape to be the star of the show, so I am going with single crochet from start to finish. And yes, it sounds so boring, but trust me, I tried many different stitches, and quite honestly, they were a distraction. They distracted from the silhouette, the shape, which again is the star of the show. So go with the single crochet as I did here, and it will give you the best results. So in addition to the yarn, we're using buttons, which the neck opening will be wide enough that you don't need to use the buttons, and they can just be decorative if you want. And we'll need 10 or 12, depending on your preference. And the size, I believe this is a 5/8. I know you don't want to go bigger than 3/4 inch. Definitely not bigger than that. We're also using an H hook, yarn needle, and scissors. And you'll get more detail in the description area below. I always leave a lot more information in there. So you do have to go in, manually click on where it says show more, or if it doesn't say that, then you'll find a little tiny arrow next to the name of the video. Click on the arrow, it opens up this whole section with all the detail. So make sure you do that. One more thing. Also, watch the video all the way through before you get started. This way, if I offered suggestions along the way, you'll catch those in advance, and you'll also know what you've got coming ahead of you. So make sure to watch it all the way through first. For the size small, we are going to start with a chain of 73. And the front panel is quite a bit more narrow than the back panel. So we're going to start with the front panel. We will start with a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Okay, so that's the first chain. We're going to start in the second chain from the hook. Now, you do want to, this is optional, but I think it makes a difference for this particular project, work in the back loops for just this foundation row. This way we won't have to go back and add a border. This is pretty much going to give you a self-made border. Okay, so the first one is always the hardest. It is for me anyway. Single crochet. See, if you turn this over, here's the normal right side of the chain. If you turn it over, you'll see those loops that kind of pop out on you. That's where you want to enter your hook. And when you do a few, if you've not done this before, after you do a few of these, you'll see that it forms a border of sorts, or a little wall. And if you flip it over just that little bit, they really just pop right out at you. It makes it a lot easier. Okay, so you can see a little bit here how it's forming like a flat bottom. And it's really pretty. Okay, so just go all the way across. Let's chain 1 and turn. And we'll continue. And like I said at the beginning, it's all single crochets. So start with the very first space. single crochet, and in each space across. That's it. Especially if you're an experienced crocheter, you'll be able to do this in your sleep. Well, until we get to the interesting parts. Okay, interesting, not difficult. Don't worry about that. Okay, so just keep going all the way across, chain one turn, and continue. Okay, so we will complete 75 rows of the single crochets, and that was 72 single crochets on each row. So now we're going to chain one and turn, and now we will start the decrease rows. So the 75 rows that we completed measure 7.5 inches long. And to start the decrease rows, we want to be right under the bust line, right around the bust line. So measuring for myself, from just under the bust line, the 17.5 inches goes to mid-thigh. Now, I'm quite short. So if you need yours to be longer, your cape, add a few more rows until you're comfortable with the length. And then you can start on the decrease rows. So to decrease on the first side, because we decrease one on each side, all you need to do is skip the first space and start your single crochets on the next space. And you decreased by one. Then continue your single crochets until we get to the last two single crochets of the row. Right, now we're at the last two spaces. So now we're going to start the single crochet in the next space, 2 loops on the hook, and then start a single crochet in the last space, 3 loops on the hook. Now just pull through all 3, and that's a decrease, single crochet decrease. Chain 1, and now we're going to repeat the process on each row. So you will again skip that first space, then start your singles in the next space. When you get to the last 2, just repeat what we just did. So you will start your single crochet in the second to the last space, 2 loops on the hook, start another single in the last space for 3 loops on the hook, and then pull through all 3, chain 1 turn, and just repeat. Okay, you would have continued decreasing until you end up with 20 single crochets. And don't worry about the edges curling, because we're going to attach this to the back panel, and that'll be taken care of. So this is where we are. Now we're going to put a simple little border around the neckline. All right, after you did your chain 1 and turn, now we are going to do single crochets working in the back loop only in each single crochet. So you're going into the center of the little chain on top, so that you're only going through that back loop. Do the last one, chain 1 and turn, and then repeat. Back loop only for the 20 single crochets, and you will do this for a total of 5 rows. So you're doing 5 rows of the back loop only. Okay, now we are going to add a single crochet border along the edges. So not at the top, we already did a border there, and not at the bottom. So just the 2 edges. And of course coming down the side. And it's just going to be one row of single crochet. Now if you need a wider edge, then you can do as many single crochet rows as you want, but keep in mind this is supposed to be quite narrow, so that's okay. With the right side facing you, attach your yarn at the top corner with a chain, and then single crochet in the same space in the same corner, and then evenly spaced as evenly as possible down the edge. Just a simple single crochet. If you see a space like this that is only showing one strand, do not go under the one strand. Go either under two or in the next one under two strands. Going under the one strand will leave a gaping hole and will not be very secure. So just keep going all the way down, only on the edges. Now for the back panel, which as you can see, I've got quite a bit done here. We started with a chain of 113, and then single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and in each chain across, and then chain one and turn at the end of that first row, and then we will do a total of 99 rows of just single crochet. And it does go surprisingly fast. Don't worry about the boredom. And then we'll start decreasing on row 100 to shape the shoulders and the neck. At the end of row 99, you chain one and turn. Now in row 100, we are going to single crochet in the first 14 spaces, starting in the first space as usual. 14 single crochets. So you decrease over the first two, or I should say over the next two. Single crochet one in each of the next two spaces. Decrease over the next two, and repeat that for a total of 5 decreases. And then single crochet across the next 22 spaces. Then you will do 2 decreases. So start 1 decrease over the next 2 spaces, another decrease over the next 2 spaces, and then single crochet across the next 22 spaces. Now we will repeat the decreases, the 5 decreases like we did at the beginning of the row. So you decrease over the first 2, or I should say over the next 2, single crochet 1 in each of the next 2 spaces, decrease over the next 2, and repeat that for a total of 5 decreases. Then you will single crochet across the last 14 spaces. And chain 1 and turn. Now in row 101, we'll single crochet across the first 13 spaces. Then we'll work 5 decreases, just like we did in the previous row, where we'll do the single crochet decrease, and then a single crochet in each of the next 2 spaces, and then repeat for a total of 5 decreases. And then single crochet across the next 38 spaces, and then you will repeat the 5 decreases at the end of the row, When you finish the 38, then you'll do the 5 decreases. And of course for this row, just to be clear, when I say the 5 decreases, I mean the decrease, and then 2 single crochets, decrease, 2 single crochets, just like we've been doing, and then single crochet in the last 13 spaces. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn. In row 102, we're going to single crochet over the first 12 spaces. Then we'll do the decrease over the next 2 spaces, single crochet in the next 2, and we'll repeat that for a total of 5 decreases. Same as we have been. Then single crochet over the next 13 spaces. Then you'll do 2 decreases. There's the first one. There's the second one. Now single crochet over the next 13 spaces. Now you'll repeat the 5 decreases. So you'll do a decrease, 2 single crochets, then decrease, and repeat for 5 total decreases. And then finish off the row with a single crochet in the last 12 spaces. Then chain 1 and turn. For row 103, we'll single crochet over the first 12 spaces. Then we'll work the decreases as we've been doing. So decrease over the next 2 spaces, single crochet over the next 2, and this time we're going to repeat this for a total of 6 decreases. Then you will single crochet over the next 10 spaces. Then you will repeat the decreases, same as at the beginning of the row, for a total of 6 decreases. And then finish off the row with a single crochet over the last 12 spaces. You will have chained 1 and turned as usual. Now for row 104, single crochet over the first 10 spaces. Now you will do the decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, across the row until you get to the last 10 spaces. And yes, it will start to pucker up. That's perfectly normal. And single crochet over the last 10 spaces. You should have a total of 54 single crochets across that row. Then chain 1 and turn. Now for row 105, we're going to repeat row 104. Single crochet across the first 10, and then keep repeating the decreases, decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, until you get to the last 10 spaces. Then do single crochet across the last 10 spaces. You will end up with a total of 45 single crochets for that row. At the end of row 105, chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to do 5 rows of the border with the single crochets worked in the back loop only. So we're matching up with that front panel. So for these last 5 rows, you will be working with 45 single crochets, back loop only. When you're done with the last row, row 110, you can tie off the yarn. Now we're going to finish off the back panel with a border, 1 row of single crochet along the edges only, not the top, not the bottom. So just like with the first panel, or the front panel, 1 row of single crochet. If you did more than 1 row, of course, on the front panel, then do the same for the back panel. Now what I wanted to make sure was understood, that the back panel will be slightly longer than the front panel, and this is by design. The back panel drapes over the shoulder quite a bit to meet up with the front panel. The front panel basically lays flat across your chest. It does not go over the shoulder. So you need a little bit more length on the back panel in order to look even with the front panel. All right, now that we have finished the border on both panels and the edges, we can attach the front to the back. So you want the back with the wrong side facing up and the front with the right side facing up. And as you can see, I've already done one side. And we just attach to the corner where we started the decreasing and up to the neck. And the buttons are strictly decorative, so I went ahead and put the buttons on after I attached the front panel to the back panel, and then I sewed the buttons on. And I did have to use a regular needle and thread because the buttonholes were too small for the yarn needle. That's perfectly okay. Okay, now to attach, you're going to attach according to your single crochet border. So you're just attaching the top to the bottom. Now the only tricky part to this, and it's not really tricky, it's just you need to go slowly, so you are counting the rows. You want to match up the rows as much as possible. So you're going to take your yarn needle with the length of thread. Okay, so line up the top, single crochet border to single crochet border. And then take the needle and come in from the bottom. And then you're going next to the stitch you just made on the same panel. You're not going this way. You're not doing like a whip stitch. Okay, so you're going next to where you just entered right here. And then from the bottom, you want to be careful that you're on the same row on both sides. So row 2. Actually, that's row 3 and row 3. And that's it. And again, on the same side, go down and then make sure you're matching the row on the back panel. So just go down until you get to the corner where the decreases started. And that's it. And then put on your buttons. And the opening looks really tiny, but my head went right through it real easily. So it should be fine. So that's it. You've got yourself a gorgeous cape. Now please be sure to subscribe to my channel here. In case you haven't heard me say this 1,000 other times, maybe this is the first time you're watching my videos. Crazy Cool Crochet is my only source of income. So every subscription, every time you watch a video all the way through, it's extremely helpful to me, and I truly, truly appreciate it. Also, if you would go over to my blog, crazycoolcrochet.com, and you will find lots and lots of free patterns over there. And of course, my Etsy channel, Crazy Cool Crochet US, as in United States, .etsy.com. All of these links I'm going to leave down in the description area below with all the rest of the detail for the project. Thank you.